10 craziest hoaxes of all time. 10. Bananadyne. Bananadyne was a hoax that was brought to light in a New York Times article. It was thought to be considered a psychedelic drug made from banana peels, and in the New York Times it was put into a list of psychedelic drugs back in 1966. This led to droves of people attempting to smoke bananas for absolutely no reason. This was identified as a hoax because the man who wrote the original article said it was created to make a statement about the legalization of psychedelic substances and to see how the government would react when the common banana was put into that category. 9. The Hitler Diaries. The Hitler Diaries were an elaborate hoax created by one man between 1981 and 1983. Konrad Cujo created a series of over 60 volumes that were supposedly the collective diaries of none other than Adolf Hitler. They were sold and purchased for a hefty price of $3.7 million by a German news magazine titled Stern. The man who wrote this had a history of criminal activity, including deception, and in the 1980s he achieved the pinnacle of his deceptive work. In the end, it was determined as a hoax through analysis of the diaries, and Konrad, along with his accomplice Gerd Heidemann, ended up spending a fair amount of time in prison for their hoax. 8. Alien Autopsy 1947. This film was released in the 1990s by a London man named Ray Santinelli. What it was supposed to be was a video detailing the autopsy of an alien life form found at the flying saucer crash in Roswell, New Mexico on June 2, 1947. This hoax built up so much momentum that in the year of 1995 it was played on Fox News and over 11 million viewers saw this image and the video that accompanies it on their TV screens. In the early 2000s, there was to be a comedy film released detailing the creation of this hoax, but in 2006, before the movie was released, Ray came clean, admitting that the film was a fake to the citizens of the world. However, most people had already come to that conclusion. 7. A Gay Girl in Damascus. This woman, Amina Abdallah Araf Al-Omari, was supposedly a Syrian-American blogger who came out over the internet about the social injustice towards the LGBT community and women in Syria. She said she was a lesbian and even ran a web blog titled A Gay Girl in Damascus. At one point, it was even reported by her sister that she was abducted in 2011. This shook the LGBT community as she was looked on as an idol by them. However, after evidence began to emerge, people began to question the true identity of the blogger. His real identity was Tom McMaster, who created Amina Abdallah Araf Al-Omari as an alternate persona and a way to get fame over the internet. The woman in the photo is not even Syrian. She is Croatian and lives in Britain with no connection to this hoax or Syria. 6. The Balloon Boy Hoax. You may have heard of this one on the news about 7 years back. A young boy in 2009 apparently flew off in a homemade balloon that was designed to reach very high altitudes. This whole thing was a hoax, but nevertheless it gained national news time. The parents of this 6-year-old boy, Richard and Mayumi Heene, spread the rumor that their son was in the sky in a balloon that the dad made floating away. He claimed that his child was in there accidentally and that this was unintended. What was going on, though, was just a public stunt to get attention. It was later discovered that the boy had been hiding in their attic for the duration of this event, and both parents were well aware that he was not miles above the surface of the earth but merely upstairs. 5. Stephen Glass. Stephen Glass is a former American journalist who was reported falsifying nearly every story he ever wrote. He constructed and detailed entirely fictional events in legitimate newspapers, specifically the New Republic, where he was considered a rising star. This list of elaborate hoax articles led seemingly to the downfall of his career. He has a law degree from Georgetown, but after his stint as a reporter, when he attempted to pass the bar and become a lawyer in the state of California, he was shunned. Even though he passed the bar, the state Supreme Court decided that he should not be licensed as a lawyer in the state of California. 4. Arthur Ford and Harry Houdini. Arthur Ford was an American psychic and medium who claimed to have spoken to Harry Houdini from the grave. In 1926, after Houdini died, his wife Bess began going to seances led by Ford. These were meant to contact her deceased husband, and Ford mustered up a message from beyond the grave to give to her from her husband. Initially, she supported his claims, but later on revoked her support of Ford's work, calling it a farce, and after numerous allegations of falsehood from various sources, Ford was identified as a fraud. However, this did not end his career, and he worked almost until his death in 1971. 3. Elephant Baby. This is a recent hoax that is quite laughable, actually. Scientists know from years of research that two species of a different type cannot breed to make offspring. A cat and dog can't breed, so why should a human and an elephant be able to? This picture was crafted by Empire News, claiming that this baby was born in San Diego as a result of its mother having sex with an elephant. The article that it is crafted for is almost written like a joke or a humor article. It has many scientific discrepancies in it that further prove its falsehood. This hoax has barely gained traction speculation on the internet, but it is a good example of a modern attempt at a hoax. 2. The Fiji Mermaid. The Fiji mermaid was a hoax back in the mid-1800s that was meant to convince people of the existence of mermaids by showing the mummified corpse of one. Fishermen in Japan and the islands around it have made hybrid animals for a long time for ritual purposes, and this is one of them. It is a monkey's head, torso, and arms sewn to the body of a fish. People around the world began to believe in the likely possibility of the existence of mermaids, and seeing this corpse just reaffirmed those beliefs. However, they were unfounded beliefs, and eventually it was revealed to be a hoax. However, the Fiji mermaid did still have a place in P.T. Barnum's American Museum until it was lost there in one of the many fires that had occurred there. 1. Crop circles. The chances are that you've heard of crop circles once or twice before. They are considered one of the most famous hoaxes of all time, and for a long time, no one knew how they were being done. The theory was that it was aliens coming down and leaving messages in our crops. The hoax started around 1970 as a substantial number of crop circles began appearing in England and around the world. Everyone was completely baffled until 1991, when two Englishmen named Bower and Chorley admitted to starting the crop circle craze by making the one seen throughout England, and additionally attributed the other crop circles of the world to people who copied their idea. They were made by going out into fields that they had planned to make crop circles in, and overnight they would carefully form the circles by hewing down crops. This is one of the greatest hoaxes of all times for two reasons: their popularity around the world and the fact that they left people baffled for nearly 20 years.